ambition in life to achieve, and he wants to get. His family have been training him. He's been taking special. His whole life he's thinking, dreaming how he'll be able to come to that platform. And then to give that up, change is difficult. There'll be opposition from friends and family and from himself, and he'll think, what did I do? I had a good opportunity. Now I've given up that, whatever it may be. So yes, but that's it. One has to have a higher taste in order to do that. Otherwise, how can you give up something that you thought was a great thing, unless you have something really greater? Then you can give it up without any problem. So, Krishna consciousness is that thing that's so great, it's such a higher taste, that everyone can give up whatever they had, even if they were a king. There are examples of kings giving up everything just to be engaged in devotional service, to surrender to Krishna. They don't care about material things anymore. One loses his taste for those material things. So that's why these verses, speaking about Brahmabhuta stage, one comes to that transcendental spiritual stage. Devotional service is the easy way to do that. The other processes, klesha, dikatura, station, vyakta, vyakta, chetasam, very difficult to come to that stage by meditation or by speculation. But it's very easy to come to that stage by hearing and chanting, taking prasadam. How can you get an easier process? Kevala anandakanda. It's the most blissful, easy path. And Krishna says here in these verses, Bhaktya Mama is a famous verse, Bhaktya Mama Bijanati Yavanyas Chasmitata. The only way you can understand the Supreme Personality is by devotional service, not by gyan, not by renunciation, not by karma, work, not by renunciation, not by charity. Only by devotional service can Krishna be pleased. Why? Because he's a person, and he'll engage in a business activity if you wish, but it's not his favorite thing. He'll take a partial where you show some devotion and you also want something in return. Okay, business. He's a good businessman. He'll do a very good job with you. But better is you don't want to do business, you just want to serve him. And you don't care about getting anything back. That's a great thing, and he likes that the most. And for that, then, he awards the highest attainment, he awards himself. So bhakti is very special, very rare thing. And one who's engaged in Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, not mixing it in with anything else, then that is a wonderful state. And one who's got that interest, he'll have a higher taste than anything else that you can get in the material world. Lord Chaitanya says, Nadanam najanam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamai mama janmani janmani shvare bhavatad bhaktir ahoy tukitai. He says, I'm not interested in wealth, najanam, followers, or beautiful women. These are the main things that people are interested in. But he doesn't care about that. He just wants devotional service. So that's a very exalted stage, and a very wonderful stage because it's easy to give that out to others. Everyone can do it.
Jai, thank you, Maharaj. So, what does real renunciation mean? Yes, to always think oneself part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, is no right to enjoy the results of his work. Everything's coming from Krishna. So like Maharaj is so beautifully pointing out, people can try to give up everything. You know, we can analyze why people try to give up everything and take to renunciation. Because they usually get fried out with the material energy. So Krishna, he describes there's 4 different kind of people that come to him, and we know that one of them is one who's suffering, one who's in distress. So similarly, we can approach Krishna in the same way because we're distressed, we're fried out with the material energy. But by approaching Krishna, bliss can be derived, it can be tasted from day one. Because it's not a path of negation. You know, we're not trying to become free from our miseries and pains and anxieties, and you know, we may still hold on to the idea that we want to be free from these things. And you know, the more energy and the more we hold on to that, then the more it's like an anchor that keeps us, you know, in the false ego, the whole duality of the material world. But the more that we strive to become attached to Krishna and his service, then we'll accept any kind of anxiety and stress for Krishna's service, and it's actually rewarding, you know, fruitful. I know we were talking a couple mornings ago about this, where, you know, with cooking for the deities or serving the deities, you're always on a time constraint. You know, you want to do really good, you want to do opulent, you want to cook all these preparations. You know, I could just offer just like the bare minimum, but let's do something special. We're serving the Lord, you know. In the spiritual world, what do? You're serving the Lord. You want to go all out of your way to bring him pleasure. But, you know, we have these time constraints, so things have to be done in a certain way because, why? We don't have so much attachment for serving the deities, for serving the Lord, so therefore we need certain regulations to follow to help us stay rigid in our practice and, you know, make advancement that way. Otherwise, one day we're excited to serve, and the other day we're excited to sleep. The next day we're excited to eat, the next day we're excited to chant, and the next day we're excited to do some other nonsense. So to be regular in the practice, this is great. So I was thinking about this whole renunciation that Krishna is talking about, and Maharaj was saying something, it inspired me to remember something I read earlier today. There's a shloka or a poem, I don't know what you call it. It's from, I believe, Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, where he is gathering different, you know, shlokas and different things from acharyas and shastra. It's very inspirational. But this one is from the devotee poet Sri Sarvagya. And what he says is, O Bhagavan, your devotees consider the ocean to be a mere puddle, the sun a firefly, Mount Meru a clump of earth, a powerful emperor of the world an insignificant servant, a pile of Chintamani jewels, mere fragments of stone, a wish-fulfilling Kalpadruma tree, an ordinary stick, and the entire world a bunch of straw. What more can be said? In separation from you, they consider their own bodies to be heavy burdens. So who's not attached to their body? Everybody's completely attached to their body in this material world. Everybody, you know. Why do you always have to sit right behind the phone? Yeah, I can't see you. It's weird. And you're like cocking your neck. Move. So everybody's attached to these things that Sri Sarvagya is talking about. But a devotee, by relishing devotional service and coming to appreciate the glories of Lord Sri Krishna, automatically sees these things as insignificant. The sun, this burning ball, fire in the sky, which is providing life and energy for the whole, what is it? The lower planetary systems, the middle planetary systems, the higher planetary systems. Bhuvavar Swa. It's lower planets, higher. Completely insignificant because the devotee sees that this is coming from Krishna. So by turning to Krishna, automatically the material things seem abysmal, you know? Krishna, he's a thief. He's a thief. Who knows what Krishna stole? What? He did steal butter, but what else did he steal? Oh, I lost my heart in Vrindavan. Oh, Jai. Yeah, Krishna, he stole butter. He stole the clothes of the gopis when they're doing this vrat. Jai, Haribol. Yeah, Krishna, he steals our heart. He steals our tongue. Who would have thought, they'd be chanting Hare Krishna for 3 hours or more a day and talking only about Krishna consciousness, where you feel bad when you're talking about something that's not directly related to Krishna. Immediately you're talking about something that's, mundane or gossip or, sense gratification or false ego, prideful. And it feels horrible. It feels like a burden, like a weight on yourself, And the more you practice, the more you realize how useless it is. It's asat. Asat, meaning like no existence, no permanent existence, has no connection to reality. So Krishna, he steals our tongue in this way. He steals our heart. He steals our mind. And, pretty soon we'll hear tomorrow where Krishna says, just give your mind to me, just worship me, just offer your obeisances unto me. Krishna is so sneaky. So this point that Maharaj is making is so nice, that people take up this path of dry renunciation, and it's tough, it's difficult to give up all these things that we still have attachment to. But Krishna, he's sneaky, and he steps in and he gives you a little bit of nectar, a little bit of realization, a little bit of mercy, and you go for more, and then all of a sudden, a few years go by and it's like, whoa. Everything that I knew completely changed. I remember I've told people the story about how I first got a book and how I first came to Krishna consciousness. I'm not going to say the whole story, but when I first picked up the book to read it, Sri Shapanishad, I was like, all right, I'm not going to let this change me or anything. I'm just going to check it out, You see what it's all about? And then like the last time I was telling this story, I realized, oh, yeah, here's like, almost 6 years later, shaved head, all my family and friends I don't see. I wear like this cloth all the time. If I travel anywhere, it's like to India or to distribute books. All things that I never would have done before. So Krishna, he so sneakily steals away. But what is he really stealing? Yeah, he's stealing our heart and bringing us to him, but he's stealing away our false ego that we're so attached to. We like so much want to grip onto this false ego, this identity that I'm good, I'm okay, everything's great. Nobody can tell me what to do, I'll figure it out. In the Manashiksha, which is it's a very short book, it's Instructions of the Mind. It's written by Raghunath Das Goswami. It's about him instructing his mind in various ways. I was just reading through it. I'd like to have a full grasp of it, but there's a whole like succession of order where he starts off, oh my dear mind, please, attach yourself to the devotees, attach yourself to the Dham, attach yourself to the mantra, and then, later on he gets a little bit heavy with his mind. And at one point he says to his mind, give up, I can't say it perfectly, but he says, give up bathing in the deceit of donkey urine. Meaning that our mind is so used to bathing in these wretched things, these horrible things, and it's full-blown deceit that we're cheating ourselves. And he says, just give up this bathing in this deceit of donkey urine, which is pretty graphic, it's pretty heavy. And he says, just take to the splendid worship of Radha Krishna. This way you'll be pleased and I'll be pleased. So it's a very powerful thing that he's presenting, where that, we often think that we're okay, we're doing this, we're getting purified, let me just hang on with this service, I know I have this attachment, I'm becoming purified. And yeah, purification is there, but a lot of what we call purification is our struggle with the process of sadhana, of practicing bhakti yoga. But if we give up this deceit, this cheating ourselves, and just take the full-blown surrender of Guru and Krishna, then the mind will become enlivened just by rendering this bhajan, this worship. But as long as there's some kind of deceit, like duplicity, an ulterior motive, and it can be very, very subtle. Very, very subtle. I want to do service, and it may even start out that, okay, I'm sincerely just wanting to do service and please the devotees or please Krishna, and then I get some name and fame, and then devotees look up to me, and I have some like prestigious position, and then I'm like, yeah, I gotta uphold my position, I gotta act like this, I gotta be this kind of guy. Different things that go on that burden us in the process of bhakti yoga. But how can we take up this full-blown renunciation? We need full-blown attachment to Krishna. And this is the conclusion which Krishna is saying. He's here concluding the Bhagavad Gita, talking about renunciation, talking about this perfectional stage, which is the Brahmabhuta platform. And then he talks about, in this text 51 through 53, he gives a summary, and it's really nice. I'll just read it again because I'll make one point. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, and who controls the body and the tongue, and is always in trance, is detached, and who is without false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and who does not accept material things. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. So when I was reading this the first time, I was just thinking how Krishna's making these different points in many different chapters at different times when he's speaking to Arjuna. So then, he continues on. Very famous verse. Brahmabhuta prasanatmana shauchachina kangshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Yeah, one who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes this is the supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. So I know there may be other people or devotees listening online, but here everybody's brahmachari, so I'm thinking, what's the point of being brahmachari? Is it to avoid sex life? Is it to degrade women and, make jokes or whatever about that? No, it's to come to this platform, the Brahmabhuta platform, the spiritual platform. And in the purport that we read, Prabhupada, he was talking about that one doesn't have to take to the renounced order to come to this platform. One takes up Krishna consciousness, and no matter what position they are, immediately they can come to the spiritual platform. In the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, Ata pumbir dvijashreshta varnashrama vibhagasaha. What is it? Swanushtitasya dharmasya samsiri haritoshanam. Yet the perfection of life for everybody, no matter what position they are in varnashram, is samsiri haritoshanam, to render service to Hari, connect to the Lord. So I always make this point, but I just heard somebody else say it in a lecture, so I'll mention it again. But I've traveled around a little bit, and especially you're in Vrindavan, there's so many sannyasis and big devotees that come through, and it's very easy to develop the mentality that, just because somebody's carrying a danda means he's more advanced. And not that we should think that, I'm more advanced than them, but the point is that we can't see how advanced somebody is. We can only see the externals. So, what's this shloka from the CC? The last line is Gopi bar tu pada kamalay or das and a das and a das. Yeah, I'm not brahmachari, I'm not grihasta, I'm not man, I'm not woman, I'm not any of these things. Simply das, anudas, anudas, anudas. Servant of the servant of the servant. So, we have to learn to respect the Vaishnavas. We have to learn to serve the Vaishnavas. We have to learn to, give up this deceit, this illusion, this madness, and just strive very intently to render service to the Lord in a loving way. So, I'll continue on reading things. If somebody has any questions or comments, you can feel free at any time. Yes, you have something?
I was wondering, why do a lot of people fall away from Krishna consciousness if Krishna consciousness is full of higher tastes?
Why do people fall away from Krishna consciousness? Everybody's coming from their own conditional background. We've been associating with our mind, with our false ego, and entangled in the modes of material nature for so long. So, Shri Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, or not yesterday, but Friday, I believe. We stopped on those section. It was like right in the middle. Valmiki read it actually on Friday. It was talking about Krishna saying, what starts off tasting like poison ends like nectar. This is life in a mode of goodness. Mode of passion, it begins tasting like nectar and ends like poison. So when we come to Krishna consciousness, practicing, it's new, and we were just being kicked around like anything by Maya. So then you come to the temple, you stay for some time, everything's new and fresh, all the prasadam is new. Prabhu, here's a rasgulla. What's a rasgulla? Whoa! A burfi? Pfft. But then you're around for some time and it's like, oh yeah, I've had all these. I've had that. I know this. I know the song now. I know, I've read through the Bhagavad Gita. I know Bhagavad Gita. I know Bhagavad Gita. I know Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. So, familiarity breeds content. So, if we just stay on the surface, then very easy, we'll lose taste, we'll lose attraction, we'll think, oh, maybe it's not so great. Maybe my family will help me. Maybe it's better at home where I could sleep more and eat how I want, watch TV, watch movies, just kind of take it easy, I'll just be like a normal person in the world. Just blend in. I don't have to be this person who's always striving for something and waking up so early, cold showers, forcing myself to chant, 16 rounds. Where sometimes I sleep and then it's like, oh no, my whole day is ruined. We have to go beyond the surface. We have to penetrate deeper into Krishna consciousness. We have to dive deep. Ayendra Prabhu, he would say something along these lines. What would he say? He wouldn't say Haribol, Haribol. He'd say, Damodar, where are you? Get in the kirtan. No, he'd say, it's not about like how, I'm kind of paraphrasing the essence, but it's like not about how far you go, like it's about how deep you go. And he's talking about like kirtan, the holy name. Like you gotta go deep. So, the examples given, like the bottle of honey, flies trying to eat honey that are outside the bottle, it's what pleasure is there? You have to actually open up the bottle of honey and you have to see what it's all about. So we have to do this with Krishna consciousness, where it's like, birds, when they're flying in the sky, they stay in a flock, or a school of fish. There's safety in numbers. So we come to the temple, and we have the temple so we can all congregate together and associate together and, inspire and enthuse one another, or maybe not inspire or enthuse, but, reveal my greed, my envy, my lust. So there's safety in numbers of us staying together and practicing together, but ultimately you have to flap your own wings. Ultimately you have to take the cap off the honey and you have to taste it. You have to dive deep into Krishna consciousness. We can read all day, and Vijayamani Prabhu made a very great point that I really like. He said, one of the greatest things about the Bhagavatam is that there's so many prayers, so many different prayers to, Kapila Dev, prayers to Narayan, prayers to Shiva even, prayers to Krishna, so it's different angles of vision from different devotees. But Vijayamani Prabhu, he's making the point that, it teaches us how to pray, how to connect to Krishna. So just by reading the Bhagavatam regularly, it rewires our consciousness. It reprograms our consciousness, because whatever we're associating with, it affects us. So the more we're reading, it helps us adopt that way of thinking, that way. And naturally, you pray to the Lord, and naturally these things come up just because you've been reading and hearing it. But my point is, nobody can pray to Krishna for you. We have to do it ourselves. So, when we chant Hare Krishna, this japa, it's very important to have the right mood, this prayerful mood, calling out to Krishna, crying to Krishna, realizing our dependence upon Krishna. 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 We have to, otherwise we may come to the temple, on time, we sit down at japa time, we're chanting a japa, we think, okay, I didn't fall asleep entirely, maybe only a little bit, I survived another day, it's time for prasadam, okay, I took prasadam, okay, let me go do, this little service. If we're just doing these things just because we have to, how long can we do it? Have you ever been given a chore or a duty, or you were working a job and your boss made you do something, you don't like to do it? It's frustrating and challenging. You're just like, why? I want to do anything else. So similarly, we have to go beyond that. If we're chanting every day and we're doing it as a chore, viewing it as a chore, this thing that I have to overcome again, the thing I have to do again today, oh, please God, just let me get to 16 rounds. And we'll always stay on the surface. Now, if we're not able to overcome that and penetrate deep, it's okay, we keep practicing. And why do we keep practicing? Because we understand what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. He's saying, in essence, that life away from me is suffering. That's the word I was thinking of. But you could interject any word. Bogus, terrible, miserable. I thought you were with it. I thought you had the dictionary app. Yeah, so Krishna's saying life without him is darkness. It's, illusion. It's suffering, pain, misery, pointless, asat. And life to him, life serving him, is the real thing. The only thing. I was going to say blissful. So this is what we're looking for, blissful. So why does somebody leave Krishna consciousness? Because they want to get intoxicated. They want to get bliss. And if they're not getting it from Krishna consciousness, then they're going to look somewhere else. And then, like I started off in the beginning, we're conditioned by the modes of material nature. So then where do you naturally go look for this bliss? According to where your conditioned nature is. If you, before Krishna consciousness, were used to eating, lots of meat and pizza and watching certain kind of movies and sports, you leave Krishna consciousness, naturally those things attract you. You don't even want to. And why? Because Krishna, he says, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. So if we don't follow Krishna's instruction, will we be engaged in warfare? No. Why? Because we're not a kshatriya. we do. Yeah, I mean, that's true. We're not a kshatriya. We do other things. So we have other things. And I don't have to tell every individual what's there. You know, being a neophyte devotee, practicing sadhaka, there's always like this monkey on your back nagging at you. Why? Why am I waking up so early? Like, I just want to sleep. Why am I with these people? I want to, be over here with these people. Why do I have to listen to this only? Why can't I listen to this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And my version of that is different than yours, and different from his, and different from yours. But as long as we're not getting the taste of Krishna consciousness, then immediately the mind presents this. Because Krishna, what does he say? He's speaking to Arjuna about why people do sinful activities even though they don't want to. Krishna, he says, it's lust. Lust born from mode of passion. Then he says, the sitting place of this lust. And the intelligence, yeah. So, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence, but you can think the senses, the mind is the controlling factor of the senses. And the intelligence, is higher than that. It's knowledge to discriminate applying to the mind. But the mind is like, it's always there ready to say, what are you doing? Go do this, go do that. You want this, you don't want that. Accepting and rejecting, thinking, feeling, willing. So we need to bathe our intelligence in the words of Krishna consciousness. The words of Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, the words of the devotees from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the words of the Parampara. I mean, every time I talk, I make the same points. I talk about chant japa, focus on japa, make japa important, connect to the acharyas. The acharyas are our saving grace. They show the path, how to walk back to Krishna. So we should, like if I look up here and I look at, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his lotus feet that are hidden behind this scripture he's writing. I should know about his life. I should know what he actually did. I should know what he wrote. I should know what he presented. And just by knowing that and connecting him that way, so much mercy, so much blessings are coming because you're immediately connected. And then you can even pray to these personalities. It's like, look at all the personalities here, and there's only one person writing. There's only one person writing, at least on this bottom row. So it's like, why is that significant? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wrote so much. He wrote Sarartha Darshini, the commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read through the Bhagavatam, like Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, and you could see like a lot of places he took things, from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but he's, putting it in a way that's like in his own words for us in our modern culture so we can easily understand. One time I was in Vrindavan and some devotee was talking about Prabhupada, saying that, he could very easily translate all these books and like fly through it, but, it took much time because he's doing it in a way that us degraded people of Kali Yuga can actually understand this, high principles of Bhakti Yoga. So my whole point is when we look at Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it's not like we just see his picture, we're like, oh yeah, he wrote so much. He wrote this great, elaborate purports on the Bhagavatam, and if you read some of his purports, you realize he has his own unique style, and it influenced everybody else going forward. He also had the like this benediction or boon or, protection, whatever you want to call it, that like he would be writing his shlokas of what, or his purports, whatever he's writing, and it'd be raining in the area, but it'd be raining everywhere else except for where he was sitting. Just Krishna's mercy. So, we need to take shelter of Krishna consciousness, and diving deep can mean different things, Oh, okay, I'm feeling bored, I'm feeling complacent. Let me learn how to play the mridanga. Okay, I learned how to play the mridanga. Let me learn more how to play the mridanga. Let me learn how to chant this bhajan. Let me, study what, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did in his life, so I could feel connected to Prabhupada's guru. What did Bhaktivinoda Thakur write? Oh, what are the songs of Narottama Das Thakur and, Bhaktivinoda Thakur? How do they compare? What about the six Goswamis? How did each one of them meet Lord Chaitanya, and how did each one of them have a connection with Lord Chaitanya? I'm just giving a few examples of how we can go deeper in Krishna consciousness, but ultimately that's what we have to do. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for those points, Prabhu. If I may, there was a few things that I thought about in my analysis of why we leave Krishna consciousness if there's so much higher taste. One, we never got high yet. Why? So how do we get high? Absorption. We got to absorb ourselves. Why does that matter? Because we're on the mental platform, so we're up and down. So we never got high yet, so we're up and down. How to get high? We got to get absorbed. We'll get off the mental platform because of what's described here. Full devotion to Krishna conscious activities. We're above the modes. So then another thing was, what was the fifth one? We have to fight. We got to fight. It's not easy, but we got to fight against the mind. And whoever has a busy mind has got to fight really hard. What is that fight? That fight means stay engaged, right? And we have to have faith that it's working. As long as we stay engaged with attention, then it's going to work. So that's a faith. Hearing gives faith. Actually, the advancement in Krishna consciousness is basically about faith. So if we left, it means we didn't get enough faith to keep it going. But we're on it. It's working, and it's going to work. We can't ever get off of this once we got on it. It's just going to be later. But if we stick with it, it'll work sooner. If we stick with it, we don't have to stop. That's what I mean. That seems common sense, but anyway, those are some points that I thought about. There was a question here. Is it okay?
Yeah.
All right. How to balance revealing our hearts to devotees / sharing our struggle with anarthas and direct Krishna Katha. What?
Say this again.
Yeah, so there's a few here, I guess. It says, how to balance revealing our hearts to the devotees versus sharing our struggle with anarthas and direct Krishna Katha.
Where's this question coming from? So we don't have to be super impersonal.
This is from Radhastali Mataji.
Okay, Jai. It's a very good question, What Mogadari was just speaking is making me think of the Nectar of Instruction, where, Rupa Goswami is making the point of endeavoring with patience and enthusiasm. So why do we get mental and disturbed? Because we're not being patient and enthusiastic. If we're remaining patient and enthusiastic, then we keep going with service, we maintain faith. But, he also says we should reveal our mind to devotees and inquire from others. So how to balance this with Krishna Katha? So if we're doing it in the right way, then it is Krishna Katha because it's bringing us closer to Krishna. But, we can get too caught up in we can get too caught up in trying to correct all my material problems and uncover my real feelings and, my deep-rooted anxieties, and insecurities and fears. these things may be there and they may be impediments and they might need to be addressed a little bit, but if we put too much focus on that, it's very, very easy to become lost. But if we just apply the principles of Krishna consciousness and speak what Krishna is saying, what the Guru is saying, and relay that to one another, then it becomes very easy to see our anarthas. But ultimately, we have to hear from those who are self-realized. We have to hear from those who are actually free from anarthas. If I'm talking with a devotee who's I'm not trying to judge, but say I've only been around 4 years and I'm talking to a devotee who's been around 3 years, and I'm trying to lay my heart out to him or her and, find the solution to all my problems. They might have some help. Fine, only him. Does that help? The point is that they might have some insight and experience, with devotional service and some wisdom, but are they really free from, the material energy? Are they free from, these anarthas themselves? So, how can, if I'm tied with ropes, how can I cut somebody else from ropes? So, we can point each other in the right direction, and that's Krishna Katha. Krishna said this, Krishna said that, but the best thing to do is to inquire and reveal these things to very senior Vaishnavas, and they'll be able to, sadhu, they cut through these anarthas much more rapidly, much more surgical precision. But we hold on to these anarthas. This is this donkey urine of deceit, actually. Because we're holding on to these things thinking that they actually support our life and help us in some way, but they actually bring us pain and misery. So over time, you said there's one other thing on there or no?
The question is it wrong to desire someone to just ask us, how are you doing? Or is this mundane?
I remember one time I heard a story where some devotees came to see Ayendra Prabhu, and they asked him, Prabhu, how are you doing? he picked up a chair and threw it across the room at them. So, not everybody has the same bhav, the same mood. Srila Prabhupada, when he finished writing his letters, he often, most often ended his letters as what? I hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well-wisher. So your ever well-wisher, of course, is going to wonder, how are you doing? How is life? And I'm sure we've all been in times, this goes for devotees, but not even devotees, but, we're feeling sad, we're feeling out of it, and one person just asks, oh, how are you doing? And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, wow, somebody cares. And then, you express your feelings, and then you, connect with the person more. So that's the same with, inquiring and revealing our mind with one another, and we shouldn't be so impersonal and distant. It's easy to live in a communal setting, and we see each other every day, but we live in an island mentally. Anybody could leave if they want. We live in an island mentally, so we're actually physically close in proximity, but super distant, subtle level. And we can even, take this same thing and ask and dovetail it directly into Krishna's consciousness, if that makes us feel uncomfortable just asking about how are you. Oh, Prabhu, how was your japa this morning? Oh, how much have you been reading? What did you read lately? Oh, your kirtan really inspires me. What inspires you? Different things. But there's also an art to inquire from somebody without puffing them up. And we could say, Prabhu, your kirtan is so great. You're so awesome. How can I be like you? And then the person's like, oh, I'm not great. I'm horrible. Or you could say, the way you've been chanting is actually inspiring. What inspires you? How can I tap into that? Just your thoughts. It's getting late. You want to make one last point? Okay, again, anybody can leave if they want to.
I was wondering, because I don't think Yeah, let me just ask the question. I actually have this question that runs through my head every time I become like either anxious or confused or bewildered. Which is, and the question is basically, why is serving Krishna any different from serving Maya? Because even people in the spiritual world, they experience anxiety too. So if there's always this sense of discomfort, then what's the point of serving Krishna? If we're always going to feel this sort of pain, this sort of separation from Krishna, what's the point?
Well, before I answer that, I thought of one thing about the last point is that, I read, I don't know if whoever asked the question is still listening, but Devaki Mataji, she wrote this series of books. I read one that was about the false ego, and it's like really, really nice. It has all these quotes from Prabhupada and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur supporting all of her realizations. But she also has a book about like sheltering relationships, spiritual relationships. So I think that would be a good place to refer for more insight on that topic. But as far as your question, this is a very important question, and you should know the answer to this, because this is the essence of our whole philosophy. We hear about Mayavads. It's like, why? It's like serving Krishna, serving that, it's all the same thing, right? So, anxiety, it's not always there in the spiritual world, because Vaikuntha, this means spiritual world, right? What does Vaikuntha mean? Free of anxiety. So how can there be anxiety in a place that's free of anxiety? So there's different rasas. So our acharyas, they're not teaching us to take to worship of Lord Narayan. Worshipping Lord Narayan and Vaikuntha, like there's no anxieties, because they're worshiping the Lord in this opulent form, and they're bowing down to Him, worshiping Him, giving Him everything, and everything's all perfect all the time. Who's in anxiety? Mother Yashoda, as she's running around chasing Krishna. Srimati Radharani, because she's not able to go out and see Krishna because she's, kept at home with her family. Krishna's cowherd boyfriends, that Krishna steps behind a tree and they can't see Krishna for 1 second. Oh my, where's Krishna? And then they keep walking and they see Krishna in the coils of Kali, and they're, it's like the life air just gets sucked out of them. Yeah, but the difference is here, anxiety is just leading to suffering and degradation of consciousness. But there, anxiety is bringing us closer to Krishna. It's actually bringing more bliss, more fulfillment, more joy, more satisfaction, more everything that we're ever hankering after. It's like, a mother has a son, and say his son, is like a teenager, and he goes out at night, and he stays out too late. The mom's like staying up like anything, waiting for him to come back home, like pacing around, like waiting. I tried calling you, where were you? Why does she do that? She loves him. So the anxiety is born out of love. Our anxiety here is born out of fear. So by putting our anxiety into this love, of Krishna, it actually fulfills our heart. It makes us feel wholesome. It makes us feel happy. And Krishna will take care of us. He'll give us exactly what we need, because He says, "Yeyatamam prapadyanti tam stataiva bhajamiham mama vartamanu vartante." What's the last line? Manushaparta sarvasa. He rewards us according to our degree of surrender. So you don't have to worry about this, because it's not like, if it's not suitable to me in my relationship with Krishna, you won't be put in a position that has this. You'll be put in the most perfect position where you'll feel fully satisfied and happy and be always blissful in that mood. It's not like the residents of Vaikuntha who are worshipping Lord Narayan. They think that they're inferior to these devotees over here. or that, the gopas think that the gopis are superior, and like, if only I had what they had, then I'd be happy. No, everybody's perfectly happy in their situation. They're serving Krishna. And we can experience this here. If you're fully absorbed in your service, you don't care what everybody else is doing. Then you admire and praise other devotees for their service. But if you're not fully absorbed in your service or chanting, then you're going to see this devotee, he's chanting too loud, he's dancing too much, he's serving too much. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's because we're not absorbed. There's a subtle thing of like enviousness. But if we're absorbed, then it's like, we're trying our best. Then whatever this devotee does, we're going to be like, oh wow, look how hard he's trying. That's amazing. So don't worry about anxiety. Just try your best and remain patient and full of enthusiasm. All of our problems come from working too much in the mind. Just Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you all for participating and bearing with me. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Natai ki jai. Vancha kapatarubhyascha kripas nabhi vachapatitanam pavane bhivaish.